So good morning. And that was, well, there's only a few people trying to get food. You never stand between people and getting their breakfast especially. So I'm delighted to be here. Thank you to Mike for the kind words, and thank you to Mike and Duncan for years of productivity, years of just being good people. You have excellent ambassadors who work for you here in Albany. And I learned something about this guy right here. He's in phenomenal shape. We had National Running Day last week, and he helped sponsors that. And you can just tell, like, I'm seeing him in shorts and a T-shirt, and I'm like, this guy could run circles around me. At one point, I used to be a runner, but now I moved from runner to jogger. So anyway, it's very nice to see all of you here. And I bring you greetings from one of my new colleagues and one of your colleagues, and that is Senator Sue Serino, who owns her own realty company. And yeah, absolutely. So she's one of 7 new members in our conference. And to me, she underscores why it's important to have people who have diverse backgrounds and not just people who've only worked in government. Her expertise, her experience, and everything else like that is very helpful on issues that are important to you, because not only is she firsthand knowledgeable, she can share that wisdom with us as colleagues, tell us where to go right, and tell us where to stay out of trouble. So as Mike was ticking off some of the things that are important to the realty community, I remember the sort of the genesis or the onset of the Commission Escrow Act. And I remember having the first set of meetings on that thinking, I can't even believe this is an issue. I can't even believe that people are getting put in a perilous situation. So it's good to know that that is now a chapter and that there are some very good things happening. So let me offer some comments on just things that are going on. I speak to a couple of different priorities that I think are important for the state of New York, for taxpayers in New York, for the members of our conference. And you know, there are a lot of times when people think, oh, the Senate's all the same. You know, basically they're all the same. That nothing could be further from the truth. We have disparate interests. We have demographics, geography, income, things that affect all of our districts. I met Dawn, who hails from Staten Island. Andrew Lanza is a dear friend of mine. Syracuse, Senator DeFrancisco, Senator Valesky, you know, out in the Geneseo area. So we have a lot more diversity than people think. And as the gentleman said about silence, we don't have people in our conference that are shy. So we have very robust, detailed discussions on a wide variety of issues. So let me speak to a couple in particular. Property tax cap. Long before anyone else was advocating the property tax cap, the Senate Republicans took a lead on that issue because, frankly, it was the right thing to do. And today, it remains immensely popular throughout the state of New York. That's a good thing because people see the tangible effects of what we have done. And we've done that collectively. And frankly, the governor deserves a lot of credit for the work that he put into that issue. And you'll find, for those of you who don't know me, where the governor's doing good things for the people of the state of New York, I will laud him, I will applaud him, I will congratulate him, and I will work with him. So on the property tax cap, that's a signature issue for his administration. And here's a very important distinction. For a number of years, the state of New York, I would say the old adage was, don't do as I do, but rather do as I say. New York State would say, you have to be frugal. You have to do it this way, but we wouldn't do that. So to his credit, and the credit of the Assembly and the Senate, we have basically had a self-imposed state spending cap that's the equivalent of the property tax cap. And that's the right thing to do. Now, yes, you can clap. So the Senate has passed a state spending cap that we want to see in statute. And frankly, now there are more discussions, and I'll touch on this in a little more detail in a moment, that there should be a spending cap or property tax cap in the city of New York for a wide variety of issues, because all of you know that while we are parochial, what we do affects every part of the state. And what happens in New York City affects Syracuse, it affects Rochester, it affects my home communities on Long Island, and we all need to be mindful of that. And there's a lot of talk about, you know, upstate, downstate. We are one state, we are the Empire State. I still think with all our challenges, it's the greatest state in the country. And Mike and I were just talking about, we have a park in New York State called Letchworth State Park that was just voted the best park in the country. And it's one of my, I keep saying it's one of my favorite places. It's a cheap plug for New York State tourism and things like that. But let me just go back to the property tax cap. I wish it would be permanent, From a practical standpoint, I think we'll have a compromise that involves a number of other issues. I am very confident that the property tax cap will be extended. My only real point is what is going to be the duration of that. And we have people coming to us saying, you know, we need exceptions. We need to change this stuff. And there are some legitimate points that are raised. Things like BOCES capital, capital from municipalities, pilot payments, and all of you pay attention to the average person, and they're not going to really focus on that, but these are some of the issues that are being discussed. Now, there are some pieces of legislation. There's only one that I saw on the list that was referred to about the housing bill in the New York State Assembly with the quote-unquote mansion tax. That's a non-starter. The governor is opposed to it, the Senate is opposed to it, and it flies in the face of everything that we have talked about, the things we should be talking about. I respect the fact that the Assembly has staked out a position, but frankly, we just don't agree with that position. So back to the... Dawn, you're from Staten Island. You have to clap. That's a good one. And Lanza will be very happy. On the tax cap, if you look, there have been independent studies that show that there's been a saving of approximately $7.6 billion to the taxpayers. And we need to keep talking about, to reiterate to people why it's so important. So that's something that we feel is very important. And by the way, I believe in the work you do. It is a tough industry. And it's a tough way to make a living. You know, a lot of us live on a biweekly paycheck, and I know most of the people in this room don't. So the well-being of the economy, what we're doing for economic development, what we're doing to create jobs, how we're trying to limit property taxes and create an environment where you not only have people who are coming to communities, but people who want to grow their families. So in terms of our conference, I believe that we have staked out priorities that are in the best interest of people throughout the state of New York. I'll never stand before any group and say that we're perfect, but we look at this through a pretty narrow prism. Government has an opportunity and an obligation to play a role in people's lives, but it should be a limited role. We should provide for things like education, the environment, healthcare, transportation, but I'm pretty sure the people you're trying to buy and sell houses with and for, they're smarter about their money than their government is. Well, they are. And our fundamental premise should be that while we have to ask, I want to make sure that at the beginning of the week and the end of the week that people have money in their pockets. And I think that's the philosophy of many of my colleagues. We're going to have a rough 10 days ahead of us, but that's all part of the process. And the fact that you're here is important. And I would agree very sincerely, ask your legislators what their positions are and, gently and diplomatically hold everybody's feet to the fire. You're entitled to an answer. And frankly, and at least in my estimation, the things that are in your packet are easy to support. In fact, there's a good Flanagan bill in there. Just for the record, I'm saying, I'm glad that was on the support list and not the opposition list. But, your advocacy and your knowledge is very helpful to people like me and to my colleagues. So I hope you have a very productive day here. And I'm going to comfortably say that we have your back. Our conference understands what you need. So thank you very much.